I do get this question a lot from some of the young investors and new investors that I work with, and they always ask me, Ahyat, how is property investment today different from how you started investing 10 years ago? Well, to tell the truth, the biggest difference is in property financing. Basically, 10 years ago, it was easier to get a loan, maybe, than now. It's very difficult to get loans. There's a situation where there's a tightening of access to credit. Banks are being more careful. They only want to focus property loans to genuine home buyers right now. So there's a lot of softening measures that the government is imposing right now. So that's the biggest difference that I see. But to tell the truth, how is it any different 10 years ago and now? When you talk about property investors complaining, there's seriously no difference to it. 10 years ago when I started, I still remember some property investors complaining about the same thing. Oh, property prices were too high, our salaries can't keep up, the government is not doing enough, what was the other thing? Oh, my employers were not paying me enough for me to invest in property, cost of living is rising. The same old story, but now you hear it more rampantly. That's the only difference. So about property investors complaining is no different. I think throughout the ages, if you talk about 5-10 years from now, property investors are going to continue to complain, and it's just somehow conveniently never our fault. It always is somebody else's fault, and we have to stop this victim mentality. We have to start taking charge and seeing the opportunities and doing something about it. So a couple of other things that I see happening in the market is that right now there are more property investors. So what this means is I do see some projects right now, let's say an entire block of condominium. There are more property investors buying those units in a condominium rather than people who buy it for their own use. So is this bad or is it good? It's just going to be a tricky situation when the property has been completed, when the construction is complete, when we get the keys. So a lot more people are going to rush into the market and trying to go into the same group of people who intends to buy or intends to rent that place. So it's going to get tougher and tougher when you've got more competition, when there's more property investors around. That's number one, more investors in general. But number two, I do see a lot of younger investors. Now this is really interesting. Despite the fact that a lot of people think that that more and more younger people in Malaysia are finding it difficult to invest in property, but I do see a different segment, the opposite side. I do see a growing number of younger people investing in property. Perhaps these people come from the more affluent parent generation or baby boomer generation, who's amassed some sum of wealth throughout their years, and who else to give it to than to their children, right? So maybe these are a small group, a segment of young investors, Generation Y and Generation X investors, who are perhaps more lucky than others, who can invest in property. So a couple of other things that I see happening in the Malaysian market is, especially in the future, we've got to start changing our paradigms, our norms, and start accepting the fact that KL or Greater Kuala Lumpur will no longer be the sweetheart of property investment in Malaysia. And as you can see, there are emerging new markets in Malaysia, like the Iskandar. Iskandar is, I've got one word for Iskandar, it's real. And I've been there several times last year, and I've been down there recently. And the cool thing that I saw was that there was one developer launching two different projects, one in KL and one in Iskandar near JB. And this developer was launching the similar product in two different areas, but at the same price per square feet. Now, can you imagine there is no longer a disparity between Kuala Lumpur and JB? So that's really interesting to see. And moving forward, I foresee that JB will be a real market to invest in, as in some other new growth areas up north, like of course Penang is the superstar up north, and you've got areas like Ipoh. So moving forward in the future, property investors are going to have a good market, a good array of options to invest in different markets. And another thing that I foresee in the future is there's no way but up, going up. Kuala Lumpur, that will only go upwards, will go vertical, even in other parts like Johor Bahru and other places, because land will be so scarce at that time. Everybody wants to live in those city areas, in those booming areas, matured areas, and whatever land they have to build upwards. So I foresee there will be so much premium, so much upside on landed property, rather than the high-rise things, high-rise products. But then again, that's going to be the norm of the future in KL. Everybody, most people are going to live in high-rise and strata units. So those are the couple of things that I see, present, past, and moving forward, of the climate in Malaysia.